Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, the Bobcat fire in Los Angeles County doubles in size over the weekend with fast, unpredictable winds fanning the flames. When fire crews could have that blaze under control, plus how you can help victims of another nearby wildfire.
And the U.S. reaches a grim milestone in the coronavirus pandemic, hitting 200,000 lives lost since the virus began sweeping across the country. We'll take a look at local and state numbers coming up.
We may find out this week who President Trump is nominating to replace Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Her death prompting a big fight on Capitol Hill over when the new justice should be considered. Just 43 days now out from the presidential election. Your chance to weigh in. This is Monday, September 21st, 2020. Good morning. Good to have you with us. It is 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jensen alongside Alex Fisher, and we're going to have a lot of coverage of that potential nomination this week, as well as what the passing of Justice Ginsburg means coming up later on in the newscast.
But first, breaking overnight, a heavy police presence at a local hotel ends with multiple arrests. It happened just after midnight at the Rosedale Inn on Buck Owens Boulevard. Multiple people were seen being taken into police custody. We reached out to the police department for details on what happened, but have not heard back as of news time. The Bobcat fire in Los Angeles County continues to gain ground, doubling in size over the weekend. The fire is leaving a path of destruction through the San Gabriel Mountains. It stretches more than 103,000 acres. Fast and unpredictable winds help spark flames while firefighters race to protect homes. It's about 15% contained this morning, and there are multiple evacuation orders in Los Angeles County. Firefighters do not expect it to be 100% contained until the end of next month.
And as the Creek Fire scorches more than 278,000 acres in Fresno and Madera counties, local authorities are calling for backup. 250 Marines and Navy sailors from Camp Pendleton are joining the fight against the Creek Fire. They arrived at the Creek Fire Incident Command Post Saturday night, and they'll train until Forest Services feel they're ready to send them to the front lines. The fire's 27% contained as of this morning. More than 3,000 fire crews are fighting this wildfire with equipment ranging from 300 engines to more than a dozen helicopters. A local nonprofit is once again sending supplies to people impacted by the Creek Fire, and you can help. Villagers, Inc. is working with the Aubrey Baptist Church to help people from Aubrey and Meadow Lake who had to be evacuated. All this week, they're collecting donations of food, water, toys, pet food, and cleaning supplies. You can drop them off at Country Tire and Wheel on North Chester and Norris Road in Oildale. They're open from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 in the afternoon. Then on Friday, they'll load up donations and drive them up to Fresno County. All right, and over the weekend, we did see that shift in the winds, the air quality, the smoke kind of coming in and then out and then back in again. It's just back and forth right now, Kev.
But I did notice a lot bluer skies over the weekend. Temperatures were also a little cooler yesterday, only in the upper 80s. And I've got some good news in terms of visibility around the state. And you can see it here. Bakersfield, 9 miles. Remember, I always say on a clear day, we should be at 10 miles visibility. 9 miles right now. Fresno at 7. Even areas to the north, big time improvements with our weather pattern change. And as we take a look at the overall air quality numbers, we're in the moderate range for all valley locations up in the Lake Isabella area. Tehachapi with an AQI at 55. Out in Mojave, 84. And Frazier Park has good air quality at this time. Want to show you our temperature. We're at 68 degrees right now. A southeast wind at 3 miles per hour. And as we take a look at the dog walk forecast, and we're looking pretty good today. Starting out 8 a.m. temperature of 65 degrees. That's great walking weather for everybody. And then throughout the afternoon, we will look for some 90s. And then by 8 p.m., 84. And again, a great night for a walk. Up in the mountains, 45 degrees. We've got a calm wind right now. Visibility good at 8 miles. And as we take a look at the hour by hour, we'll be in the 40s by 7 a.m. And then you can see we'll progress into the 80s throughout the afternoon. I'll have much more in your pinpoint forecast in just a bit.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. A man is dead after he was shot and killed in East Bakersfield over the weekend. The shooting happened near Lake and Tate Streets just after midnight yesterday. Sheriff's deputies arrived to find a man with at least 2 gunshot wounds lying in the street. He was taken to the hospital where he died. KCSO has not released any information about the shooter or shooters. If you know anything about this case, give them a call at 861-3110. And we're still waiting to hear how a bicyclist is doing this morning after being hit by a car. Officials say the driver drove off after hitting that person. It happened just before 10:30 Saturday night at the corner of Stockdale and Stein. Police say a person riding a bike was hit. They were taken away in an ambulance. Officers found and arrested 44-year-old Robert Rodarte. He faces several charges, including hit and run, DUI, and driving on a suspended license.
Community members gathered to honor victims of violent crime in Delano. It started at 6 o'clock last night in front of Delano City Hall. Pastor David Vivas says 7 people have died from violence in Delano this year. He says we need to remember these people and remind their families that we care.
This is to hopefully appeal to someone that may be watching through social media or on the news, and somebody out there that knows something about any of these murders that have taken place in our city of Delano. I still believe that people have a conscience and people really want to do the right thing.
Pastor Vivas also said investigators can only do so much, and it takes cooperation from the community. City officials from Delano and McFarland, as well as county officials, joined in at the vigil. Supporters of the Bakersfield Police Department also held their own vigil last night. They gathered at Stockdale High School and traveled in a caravan to the BPD precinct on Buena Vista Road in southwest Bakersfield, then moved on to the precinct in downtown. Supporters were asked to bring signs of encouragement for our officers and pray for them and their safety.
Making news around the nation, parents and families are among the hundreds of people stopping to pay respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg outside the Supreme Court. A memorial has grown since people learned of Ginsburg's death on Friday. Parents said they wanted to bring their children to teach them lessons about Ginsburg's life and her fight for women's rights and equal rights for all.
She said ultimately it's all about helping people. That's what she said in her talk. And that's why she wanted to be a judge. And she said that's what the legal profession is all about. It's not about the law, it's about helping people. And so I just found everything she said to be so inspirational.
Ginsburg died from complications of cancer at age 87. President Trump has said he will pick a woman to fill Ginsburg's seat. This comes after GOP senators from Maine and Alaska both have come out and said they would not support a vote ahead of the November election.
5:07 is your time now, and we have an update on the coronavirus pandemic in Kern, with the United States reaching more than 200,000 deaths from COVID-19. That's according to an NBC News tally. Cases in the U.S. currently top 6.7 million. California, Texas, Florida, and New York report the highest number of cases. Back in March, Dr. Deborah Birx said that if Americans followed precautions perfectly, she predicted around 100,000 to 200,000 fatalities from the virus. And now experts are making another ominous prediction that more than 400,000 deaths could come by January. Here at home, public health officials reported 130 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, 0 new deaths. More than 12,000 people are recovering at home. 134 are being treated in local hospitals. The number of deaths from COVID-19 in Kern County is 354. 21 people have died this month. The county says it needs to see fewer than 63 cases a day and a test positivity rate of less than 8% to ease restrictions. Currently, we are above those metrics. Meantime, you can get a free coronavirus test today in Bakersfield. Hall Ambulance will host a test site in downtown, and anyone can go between 1 to 7 p.m. You don't need an appointment. You can also find Hall Ambulance on 21st and O Streets. Today is the last day Hall Ambulance is hosting that free testing. Tomorrow, though, meantime, you can get a free test courtesy of the Kern County Latino COVID-19 Task Force, Kern Public Health Services, and the Bakersfield College and Kern County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It's happening at BC, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the corner of Haley Street and University Avenue.
Welcome back. As dozens of large wildfires continue to burn across our state, they're all tossing ash up into the air. And even before these fires, a report measuring air quality from last year says Bakersfield had the 4th worst air quality of any city in the nation. This year, we face the new threat of the most vicious wildfire season we've seen in history.
We're back here at 5:19. In state news, officials putting a hold on new unemployment claims to catch up on the old ones. Officials say California will not accept new unemployment claims for 2 weeks. The state plans to use that time to watch for fraud, but also to catch up on old cases. Nearly 600,000 Californians filed unemployment claims that have not been processed by anyone in the government for over 3 weeks. Officials say pausing for 2 weeks will help them process new claims faster. That's important for the approximately 2 million Californians who are out of work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor Newsom has signed 2 new bills that could change the way you buy pets. He announced Friday that he signed a bill that ends the retail sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits. This comes after a 2017 law that banned stores from selling any animal that didn't come from a shelter. He also signed a law requiring shelters and animal control agencies to put microchips in animals before letting owners adopt them. Newsom says this bill will put an end to the puppy mill industry in California, and he wants these bills to keep animals safe.
In sports news this morning, Bakersfield native Kevin Harvick held off Kyle Busch, pulling away with his second victory in the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Harvick captured his 9th victory this year, a career season high for the Stewart Haas racing veteran.
Just kept fighting. We don't have anything else to lose. We were here to try to win a race. I know how much Rodney really enjoys coming here, and hell, how could you not come in here with all this enthusiasm? Everybody's tired of being at home.
Despite falling short of his first win of 2020, defending NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch led 159 laps. The 2020 playoff field was narrowed to 12 racers following the conclusion of the round of 16 at Bristol. 17 News is your local election headquarters, and we may find out this week who President Trump is nominating to replace Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Her death on Friday has already prompted a big fight on Capitol Hill over whether the new justice should be considered now or after the presidential election. Tracy Potts has more from Washington.
Hi, Alex. Good morning, everyone. It's the very thing Justice Ginsburg didn't want, a big political fight over her replacement. But it's happening. In her dying days, she dictated a statement to her granddaughter saying that with the election coming up, she did not want her seat filled until a president is installed. The replacement for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg already turning political.
I will be putting forth a nominee next week. It will be a woman.
Frontrunners include 2 conservative Trump appointees. Within hours of Ginsburg's death Friday, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced there will be a vote.
The way this happened, so close to the election, that the next president should be able to make the decision.
It's an about-face from 4 years ago when Democrats pushed and Republicans blocked President Obama's Supreme Court nominee months before the election.
Let's let the next president, whoever it might be, make that nomination, and you could use my words against me.
Today, Republicans are defending a different approach.
When you have both the parties in the White House and the Senate, historically, the confirmation goes forward. And that's what's going to happen here.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden appealing directly to Republicans.
Please follow your conscience. But if I win this election, President Trump's nominee should be withdrawn.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is hinting at possibly using impeachment to stop it.
We have our options. We have arrows in our quiver.
A political and legal showdown 43 days before the election. With many Americans already voting. Now, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, 2 Republican women, have said they won't go along with this. But Democrats need 2 more Republicans to side with them to block it. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
Foot Locker is transforming all of its 2,000 U.S. stores into voting registration centers. Starting tomorrow, you can register to vote in any Foot Locker store. You can also check your voter registration status and sign up for election reminders. The voting campaign is aimed at younger customers. The company says it wants more young people to vote in November. Foot Locker says more than 4 million young Americans will cast ballots this year or become eligible to make their voice count in the election. The census says only 60% of Americans voted in the 2016 election.
New information this morning on a man killed in a crash over the weekend in northeast Bakersfield. It happened around 8:15 last night on China Grade Loop just north of Alfred Harrell Highway. The California Highway Patrol says a 51-year-old man died in the crash. His identity has not been released. CHP says 20-year-old Vincent Moriyoki was also involved in the crash, but not injured. Officials say Moriyoki was driving southbound on China Grade Loop south of Round Mountain Road and stopped on the right shoulder when the 51-year-old man riding a motorcycle drove by. CHP says Moriyoki pulled off of the shoulder and collided with the motorcycle, launching the man off his motorcycle. CHP says the crash is still under investigation, but drugs or alcohol do not appear to be involved. And the sheriff's office says an on-duty deputy was involved in a deadly crash in the Kern River Canyon over the weekend. That deputy, who was driving a patrol car at the time, was not hurt, but another person died. According to CHP, someone crashed near the Upper Rich Bar picnic area. The crash shut down Highway 178 for several hours. CHP is investigating the cause of this crash. And a person was hospitalized in serious condition after an incident at Riverwalk Park. It happened just after 1:30 yesterday afternoon. Bakersfield police say they were called to the park for a person who was in the pond and needed medical aid. They were taken out of the water and rushed to the hospital. It's not clear exactly what happened, but BPD is calling it an accident.
5:35 now to current sober reality with 2 arrested in a DUI driver license checkpoint over the weekend. The Bakersfield Police Department held the checkpoint between 6 p.m. Saturday and 1 a.m. Sunday at the corner of Oak and 18th Street. A total of 706 vehicles were screened during the checkpoint. Police said one person was arrested for driving under the influence of drugs, while another was arrested for having an outstanding felony warrant. In addition, 16 citations were issued. BPD said it also seized 17 vehicles during the operation. 15 of those vehicles were impounded. And the crackdown continues on illegal street racing in Bakersfield. The Bakersfield Police Department teamed up with the California Highway Patrol on Saturday night. 3 people were arrested as part of the operation, including one for driving under the influence. 27 people were cited and BP impounded 12 vehicles. If you have any information on street racing or reckless driving in your neighborhood, call BPD at 327-7111.
Children who are not up to date on their vaccinations are not allowed to attend school, even with distance learning. Adventist Health is still offering free immunizations all this month with its mobile unit, and today they will be at the Walmart Supercenter parking lot on Gosford Road. It's happening from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. These shots are free for children who have no health insurance, or for families on Medi-Cal, or for Native children. You can call the number on your screen ahead of time if you would like to go. Any child older than 5 will need an appointment.
A major turn of events in the White House's stance on popular social media app TikTok.
Why the president is hopeful to reach a deal that will keep the Chinese-owned app available here in the U.S. while boosting the portfolio of American companies.
Is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back here at 5:51. As you might have guessed, the coronavirus pandemic will impact travel well into the holiday season. Carnival Cruises is extending cancellations. The company said some ships won't be sailing until 2021 and in some cases 2022. Carnival also announced it will be selling 18 of its ships this year. It already sold 8 older ships and will delay buying new ones to cut costs. If you booked one of the affected trips, you can either get a future cruise credit with an added on board credit or a full refund. And Southwest Airlines says it will keep middle seats blocked through November 30th. That will help passengers maintain some social distancing through Thanksgiving. If you're traveling with your family or other loved ones, you can still sit together. Otherwise, middle seats will be empty. Face coverings are required for all Southwest passengers aged 2 and older. That goes for check-in, boarding, during and after the flight, and while picking up your bags. An about-face from President Donald Trump over the weekend as he gives his approval to a TikTok deal with Oracle and Walmart. The president announced he gives his blessing to the deal that will stop a ban on the Chinese social media app. TikTok struck a deal with Oracle this week, allowing the company to move its headquarters to the U.S. President Trump spoke with reporters about the deal before heading to his campaign rally in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
The security will be 100%. They'll be using separate clouds and a lot of very, very powerful security. And they'll be making about a $5 billion contribution toward education. And we're going to be setting up a very large fund toward the education of American youth.
Under the deal, TikTok's original owners, ByteDance, would retain majority ownership of the company, going by the name TikTok Global.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.